If you would start by just introducing yourself, if you don't mind.
I'm Melissa Thomas Scott. I'm the nurse that resigned on March 25th unexpectedly because of my health concerns and the coronavirus outbreak.
We're having work with
So I just got to work. I'm not trying to be unprofessional. I'm upset. I just quit my job. I clocked in, found out that I'm being sent to a corona floor when they know that I have kids at home who I can't send away to stay away from me. My manager sent me to a floor that is being tested for corona. She knows my health history. She knows all of this. I quit. I care about the patients and all, but my family and my life, they matter. They come first. Lavika Stewart is evil. She's evil. She knows my health history. I told her my kids don't have anybody to go to while they're here. I can't send my kids away like everybody else. I'm done. I'm leaving. My life matters and my kids matter. Screw this.
So I know that it went viral, and I read that you said since then that you regretted the decision to quit. Do you
I
regret?
never, I
Oh, no.
never said that.
Okay.
I never said that. Let me just clear that up. The interview with Inside Edition, the headline was totally misleading. It said that I regretted my decision. That's not what I said. I regret how I handled the situation. I regret that I did not remain calm and just go over that manager's head and, notify the proper authorities, whoever was in charge of her, of the situation. That's the only part that I regret. The video, people are saying that I went on Facebook Live and quit. No, I did not. That video was made. The situation, which y'all didn't see, is what occurred prior to the video, which was very upsetting. That video was made out of frustration. A lot of my family and friends, they were aware of the situation I had with this manager, and the fact that she failed to notify me that a patient I had taken care of was positive for coronavirus, yet she notified others. They were aware of that, and so the video was made out of frustration to notify everybody that was aware of the situation of what I was being forced to do. I never knew it was going to, or expected it to spread the way it did. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, no, thanks for clearing that up, because the article definitely left me with the impression. But what you're saying is I would quit every time. It's just the way that I quit that I would change.
Exactly. Exactly. If I could not be accommodated, not saying that I deserve special treatment, but I mean, I'm an 8-year triple negative breast cancer survivor. I still have to see my oncologist every 3 months, as a matter of fact. Because I've been seeing a lot of people say, oh, it's been 8 years since she had cancer. She's not compromised. That's not true. Everybody's cancer journey is different. First of all, the type of cancer I had is very aggressive and tends to come back. I had multiple lymph nodes removed. Anybody that knows anything about health, lymph nodes, that's your first line of defense against bacteria and viruses. I'm missing a whole lot of them. So, I mean, I will forever be compromised. Also, it's not just because I have kids. My husband is not here. He's currently working in another state, on the West Coast. And if I were to be quarantined, who's going to watch my kids? I have a baby. He just turned 12 months. My children, they're not responsible for him. And they had already had to look after him after the first patient I had. That didn't go so well. Baby ended up with diaper rash, all kinds of things, because I was self-quarantining in my bedroom, because I started to feel bad after that first patient I had. I started to feel like I was coming down with a cold, sore throat and everything, and I was scared. I had no idea if I had been exposed or not. So those were my reasons. The fact that I have nobody to watch my children, and my health. So.
Yeah, I mean, and those are probably the most valid reasons a person could have. And it's really unfortunate that you even had to defend or even explain your reasons like that, you know? Uh,
Right.
so the symptoms that you were having, are you still having those?
No, I actually went and got tested because so the day that I immediately resigned, of course, that was my first time leaving the house since the previous Wednesday whenever I left work. When I tell you, I don't leave home at all. I don't go to the stores or anything because I've been seeing people say she has more risk going to the store. I don't leave at all,
Hmm.
period. So the day after I left the hospital, I developed a dry cough. I started running a low-grade temp that weekend, lost my sense of taste, just all kinds of symptoms. And I was scared. And so I went to a place in Albany, a local place, a clinic, and I was tested. Thank God it came back negative, but that was quite scary. And even after the first patient that I had taken care of, it was a sore throat. I felt like I was coming down with a cold. I was in bed all weekend. So March 11th, when news broke that Phoebe, I was trying not to say the hospital, but I mean, everybody knows where I work. When news broke that they had coronavirus cases, I was scheduled to work, went in, coworker sent me a text, hey, just beware, room such and such is a corona case. Got my assignment. What do you know? I'm assigned to that particular room. I did voice my concerns then to the charge nurse that, hey, I have a baby at home. I can't, what if I'm exposed to something? What am I going to do with them? I have nowhere for them to go. Her response was, well, everybody else has family too. I understand that, but I have nowhere for my children to go. Ended up taking the patient, taking the assignment. When I got ready to get my supplies, you have to be specially fitted for these N95 masks. When I got my supplies, they didn't even have the mask that I needed in the supply room. The mask that I needed was locked up in somebody's office. That was a problem to me because how can I properly take care of my patient when the supplies are not ready at hand? So security had to come, unlock that door, so I could get the proper supplies. I went on and took care of the patient. Like I said, that following weekend, I felt sick. My main concern was, what if this patient was positive? When I got back to work that Sunday, I immediately asked my team leader, I said, hey, will we be notified if these patients test positive? She responded to me, oh, yours was positive. You should have received an email from the manager. I did not. I even pulled up my email right then so we could check together. Nothing. People, other coworkers who were near me and knew the situation and heard, what I was asking the team leader about, they started saying how they received an email, they received a phone call from the manager notifying them of this patient's status. I received nothing. Another charge nurse pulled me off to the side. She said, hey, Melissa, never use your kids as an excuse as to why you can't take these patients because your health history alone prevents you from being assigned to them. She said that she had told the manager of my status and that I would not be assigned these patients ever again. I wouldn't have to worry about that. A few days after that, the charge nurse who initially gave me this particular patient, she came to me and she apologized. She said, oh my gosh, Melissa, you should have told me that you had a breast cancer history. I never would have given you this patient. I still wanted to know the proper protocol, if we were supposed to be notified or not. And so I asked the manager one morning, I was like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? She just stood there and looked at me like I was crazy. Didn't say anything at all. And so I said, can you come closer? I don't want everybody to hear. And then her response was, well, since you don't want everybody to hear, you need to just come to my office. I was like, okay. That was the second time that she had yelled at me and been unprofessional. It was very unprofessional, I will say. And so I'd made up my mind then, I'm just going to communicate with you via email because clearly you have some communication issues. So I went home, sent her an email. Her response back was that the only people that were being notified were those that had direct contact with the patient prior to being placed on enhanced precautions. I didn't feel comfortable with that because I've heard reports about people still contracting the virus, even with the proper PPE. So I called employee health and I contacted somebody in upper management. They both said that whether or not you had the PPE on at the time of care, the manager is still supposed to notify you if your patient is positive. The only reason why I did not go over the manager's head is because I wanted to see if any of my other coworkers had a similar situation like mine. And so I found out a coworker who had another patient, same situation as mine, the same night I had my patient. Her patient came back positive. She was notified. And so I then emailed the manager again to ask, why was I not notified? You know, it's the same situation. Why did I not get notified? Instead of, she said, call me in the email. That threw up red flags. I'm not going to call you. Why can't you respond in email? To me, that was sending a message that you want to say something in the phone call that you can't say in the email. That's how I took it. So in the phone call, it was just, basically I didn't get the answers I needed. All she kept saying was, were you screened? How am I going to know to get screened if you don't tell me the patient is positive? And at the end of the conversation, she said, well, I don't know what to tell you then. Okay. So from that point up until I went to work on March 25th, people I personally know have died from this virus. So it's personal for me. The fear is there. My family, my husband, everybody's saying, Melissa, don't go, don't do it, it's too risky. I even thought, hey, say that you're running a fever, because a lot of people are doing that. But I didn't feel comfortable doing that because the hospital is severely short-staffed. I didn't feel comfortable doing that because there's still patients there that need my care. So I decided to go in anyway. On the way to work, coworker called me. She said, hey, I'm going to call up here, see where they have me scheduled, because if the manager is sending me to the corona floor, I'm going to call out, because this particular manager was not making the travel nurses go to those floors, and they're the ones getting the hazard pay. And so then I made the statement. I said, well, I need to call as well, because what if they have me going? And then she said, well, they're not going to send you because they already know your health history. So I didn't call manager before I got on the elevator. That was a red flag, because the manager is never there when we get there in the evening. Even during the corona outbreak, she's always gone when we get there. I, as well as a lot of my coworkers, feel that she stayed so that she could make sure the assignment didn't get changed. So I get up to the floor. I could sense that the energy was off. You can just tell when the energy is off. I grab my assignment. I don't see my name. I asked, I said, so where am I tonight? Everybody's looking scared. The same charge nurse that told me, oh my gosh, you should have told me that you had a breast cancer history. She was there this day. She looked at me. She said, you're on 2C. I said, what is 2C? She said, pediatrics. I said, I already know we don't have any pediatric patients in this hospital at this time. What kind of patients are these? And so that's when the manager appears at the nurse's station. She said, they're PUI. I said, PUI is persons under investigation, people that are being tested for corona. I said, you already know that, you know, my husband is in another state. I don't have anyone to send my kids to if I become exposed to something. She said, you ain't excused from floating, with like a little laugh after it. So then I said, you already know my health history as well. I don't know your health history. With another little laugh. Very unprofessional. Not concerned about my, my concerns whatsoever. Just say she didn't know my health history or my situation. Not one time did she pull me off to the side and say, hey, what are you talking about? She didn't try to figure out anything that I was trying to express to her. It was just, oh, well, that type attitude. So then I said, I can't take this assignment. This needs to be changed. She said, you ain't no different from nobody else. You going to 2C. This conversation is over. I said, my life matters, my kids matter, my health matters. I said, I need to speak to the house supervisor. For what? I'm the manager. So at this point, I'm feeling like I'm backed into a corner. Like, I wasn't thinking like, Melissa, just leave the floor, go get the house supervisor. I don't know. I already went into the situation scared. And so that just totally threw me off. So I said, I quit. She said, okay. and that was that. Like, that was very frustrating and hurtful to know that she didn't even care about my concerns. And so that's what led up, me being frustrated and making that video to my family and friends. I never expected it to spread, never intended for it to spread. I don't even like all the attention it's gotten. But I will say there's been a lot of people that have shared with me from all around the world similar situations. Plenty of people have messaged me about situations with this manager as well, of mistreatment, bullying, and whatnot. So in a way, it was a good thing. Like I said, the only thing I regret is not taking it to somebody higher. That's the only part that I regret. Now, the comments that I've been reading on Facebook and Instagram and other blogs and whatnot, there's some negative, but the positive, it far outweighs the negative. I will say that for sure. I can't even keep up with all the messages, the inbox messages that I'm receiving. I've received so much support. I will say that, from people who are not in the medical field to doctors, nurse practitioners, nurses who stand with me in my decision. So
That's really, really good to hear, actually.
yeah.
So are you working anywhere now, or do you plan to try and go back?
I'm not currently working, and I've made the decision to stay out until this dies down a bit, this coronavirus outbreak, because it's not safe for me to be in the hospital at this point, because you don't know who has it. Just even going to the hospital is a risk in itself. So I'm just going to sit out for a while. Let me also address, a lot of people have been saying, oh, she's going to lose her license for abandonment. I never accepted a patient assignment. I never accepted any patients. So I didn't abandon my patients. It was a quick situation. I clocked in and I clocked right back out. So I didn't accept any patients. I never received report. And I just wanted to make that clear.
And I know in Albany that part of the reason that it was so bad was because of, I believe it was two particular funerals that a lot of people had attended. Did you know anyone at either of those?
I did. Actually, those funerals affected quite a bit. I mean, a lot of people that I know. I don't want to put anybody, shine a spotlight on anybody, but yeah, people I personally know have passed away from this. My husband's best friend, father figure, he passed away, and he really didn't, from what I understand, didn't have any health issues, any major health issues. So, like I said, this is personal for me. I know a lot of people that have passed away. So that's why, one reason why I was so emotional and fearful, because people I actually know from Lee County are dying. And it's too many at that. For instance, a father and daughter, they died within days of each other. And I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's affected me personally. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. For sure.
Another reason why I did not feel comfortable, just say I did have somewhere to send my kids, the fact that there's a nationwide shortage of the PPE, the personal protective equipment. We're having to reuse the same mask and gown the entire shift. That was not the standard before this viral outbreak. So I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I know a lot of nurses who are getting sick, and I've seen reports of nurses actually dying from contracting this virus. So that's an issue as well, the shortage of protective gear. So
Yeah, absolutely. I read in some article that Phoebe's year that was supposed to last like 6 months was gone in a matter of like 2 weeks or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but
But
it's shocking.
I can't remember the exact number, but it went pretty quickly. Yeah, you got to keep in mind, not only is it being used for the coronavirus patients, but I mean, just the regular patients who are on contact precautions, we need it for them as well. So, and then the high amount of cases that are there, I can see how it happened. It seems like nobody was really prepared for this,
Yeah, yeah,
not just in our area, but in other places as well.
sure. So don't, if obviously if you don't want to answer this question, completely understand. Don't feel pressure. But I do wonder, from somebody that worked at Phoebe, if you saw any, other than the one manager, if you saw any systemic or like institutional issues that you took issue with or that could have been handled better.
I did not. Let me just say, my issue, let me just make this clear. My issue is not with the hospital. And I hate that my badge was shown because I did not want to bring attention to the hospital. I didn't want to bring attention to anybody, really. But that manager, I wasn't the only one that quit that day. I don't know if you've heard about that. There
No.
were 2 other people that quit the same day that I did on that same floor because of that manager. The following Sunday, another nurse quit because of that manager, from what I understand. How can I say it? You would be surprised at the messages I've received concerning this manager. She does not, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm an angry, bitter, disgruntled ex-employee or anything like that, because that's not the case. But I know for a fact I would still be there if she was not in that position. She just came to our floor in February. I'd never been written up or anything. Nurses even left prior to this viral outbreak because of her. So do you see a common denominator here? I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know of any other issues with anybody else, any other managers, but this particular one, there's definitely a problem.
Okay, and she's still there now.
Yes, she is. I have not heard from the hospital at all. That bothers me because there's always 2 sides to a story, 3 sides to a story. That bothers me because I was a very dedicated and loyal employee. Anybody will tell you. My patients, they love me. There's been plenty of mornings I stayed late to do what's right. So the least they could have done was reached out to me and just, responded to my email or something, because I sent a very in-depth email and I did not receive a response at all. I figured they, didn't like the fact that this went viral worldwide.
Mhm.
And people are already looking at the hospital because of the high amount of corona cases. That was never my intention. I never bashed the hospital, not one time. But I feel like they should have at least reached out, responded to the email, something. So those are the facts. My son said, "Mom, I've heard you repeat the same story 100 times the same way. That should tell you something. I'm telling the truth if it never changes." So I just hate the way it played out because I never wanted to leave my job. I love what I do. And I hate that I was forced to make a decision between my health and my job. Um, I, yeah, it's very upsetting, but it is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
So,
Um, so I know you said until this virus goes down, you want to take a break, which is completely understandable and, obviously the best thing to do. In the next few months, are you going to be okay? Are you concerned um, in terms of finances or anything like that?
well, I mean, I didn't even work full time anyway. I was, I worked staff length, and that's considered, I was only required to work 6 shifts every 6 weeks. But of course, I picked up more if I could. Um, of course, I mean, extra money is always good, but I'm going to be okay. My husband, he takes very good care of us. And
Good to hear. That's
if
really
I need help, I mean, I have family. They're not just going to leave me out in the cold. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be okay.
okay. Well, that's good to hear. All right. Well,
So
thank you so much for your time today. That really cleared up a lot of questions I had. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm sorry it took so long for me to
Oh,
get
no.
back with you.
You're fine. You're fine. I'm glad you're being flooded with positive messages.
Yeah, it really helps because, at the beginning, I felt sick to my stomach because I didn't like all the attention. And I started thinking, like, Melissa, should you have just stayed?
Mhm.
I was second guessing myself, but I'm at peace with my decision. So,
That's great.
yeah. Well, you stay safe, please. And again, thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Have a good one.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.